Scott Thuman is here again with us. And so he was most recently the anchor at Good Morning Washington and ABC 7 News at Noon. He's been assigned to full-time political coverage in the upcoming election season. And I'm going to throw this in. I see him at the anchor desk regularly now, so hoping he can get up there. His coverage of the primaries, caucuses, conventions, and debates has garnered international attention. Over the years, he's filed reports from Iraq, Cuba, Haiti, Europe, and across the United States. We also have an outstanding junior from Yorktown High School, Ryan Holman. And Ryan is a member of our very own Teen Network board. He's a leader in the Minority Student Achievement Network. I'm going to give the acronym, MSAN, at Yorktown, and represented Yorktown at the MSAN National Conference in Amherst, Massachusetts in 2013. Ryan has participated in the Edu Futuro talent show in 2012 and 2013 and won first and third place respectively. He also has participated in the Edu Futuro Emerging Leaders Program. And finally, Ryan finds time to be an active student at Yorktown. He currently is a member of the Patriot Athletic Council and earned a varsity letter in outdoor track in 2012-13. Please join me in welcoming both Scott and Ryan. Thanks.
She loves that, doesn't she? You can tell. I think it's funny because today the theme was all about support, right? Supporting each other, community. The support that I witnessed backstage there, just remarkable, from Renee's daughter, who is laughing in the corner and said, "She's so weird," when she came out here. That's the kind of child mother love you love to witness. You hear it back there right now. They're great. It's great for me to be here, and I think it's interesting because it's not often you look at a handout or a piece of paper with a bunch of numbers on it and you think it really matters. But I don't know how many of you have ever kind of really looked over the developmental assets sheet. You looked at the numbers here to determine what applies to you, what doesn't, what you wish would. But these are the kinds of rules of thumb that would help make the world, your community, your neighborhood, just your house, your school, whatever it may be, a better place. And as you look through them, you'll see what applies and what maybe should and doesn't. For me, when I looked at number 14, which is adult role models, I think that's what really kind of at least set my life a little bit straight. I was fortunate enough to have some very caring, very active parents, and I really didn't have much of a choice but to be a good kid initially because my father was once a monk and my mother was a nun, and that's not a lie. Fortunately, they had me after all that, but yes, I grew up in that household, and then my father, to make it even worse, became an FBI agent. So you really had to walk the line in a house with a former monk turned FBI agent. But my mom became a teacher, which is why I have the same love for schools and the communities that surround them, because I saw the influence that a good teacher, a good role model, a good mentor could have on kids, and then of course how that helps the relationship at home, how teachers benefit from that, principals, all the educators, and then just those who are willing to volunteer in their community. So I think you've got a really special day ahead of you with a lot of people who really care. I'm excited to moderate the panel coming up. But before that, I want to hand it over to my good new friend Ryan here. Ryan's got some introductions he's going to make for you as well. So Ryan, it's all yours.
Good morning guys, how are we doing today? Thanks. So like Scott said, my name is Ryan. Today I'm going to be introducing two people today. The first person I'm going to introduce is Dr. Emma Violan Sanchez. She's a member of the Arlington School Board. Dr. Violan Sanchez is a community advocate for accessible education. Born in Bolivia, Dr. Violan Sanchez has lived in Arlington since 1978. She has had a long career working in education, currently serving as an adjunct faculty in Georgetown University. She focuses on multicultural education, minority education, language, and family involvement. One of Dr. Violin Sanchez's most notable accomplishments is founding the DREAM Project, a project that encourages and supports immigrant youth to pursue higher education. Dr. Violin Sanchez not only has an impressive list of accomplishments and rewards, but will also certainly leave a long-lasting legacy to her two children. They are both graduates of Arlington Public Schools and are following her footsteps. Please welcome Dr. Violin Sanchez.
Good morning, buenos dias. On behalf of the school board, I want to give you a welcome to this amazing conference. And here in the auditorium, we also have Abby Rafael, who is from the school board, and she is a strong advocate for youth. I mean, Abby has always been the forefront in building assets, helping kids through the second chance, and it is the type of leadership that we have in the school board. But first of all, I just want to find out, how many of you were born in another country? How many of you, keep your hands up, how many of you are children of immigrants? Do you see what a wonderful asset you have? You have the asset of language. You have the asset of culture and of values that have brought you to this country. One of the things that I believe very strongly is in the power of positive identity. And the power of positive identity starts with who you are, what you value, and how you can bring your assets to the work with children. It is important for all of us to share our stories with the children we work with, because we want them to share the stories with you, because that's how you build relationships. Relationships are built through connection, and connection with your values, with your identity, is very important. Now, I believe that we live and thrive with our families and our communities. And I think that we live in an exciting, diverse community where all of us are valued. But what I think is, and many times as an educator I have seen in the school system, we don't want to have a deficit mentality. By deficit, it means, oh, we have these students, they don't speak English, they are poor, the parents work 3 or 4 jobs, you know, they don't. We have to say, yes, they speak another language. Yes, the parents struggle every day to make the ends meet. Yes, they come from a family that may not know privilege. Yes, they are resilient, and all our children need to feel a sense of community. But where do we get our satisfaction? Where children get their satisfaction is through giving. It's through giving that you receive. You know, as founder of the DREAM Project, my greatest satisfaction is when I see an undocumented student who has been afraid, who thought that the dreams were crushed, because they didn't have the privilege of a social security number. But when we in the DREAM project said, yes, you matter, yes, we will work with you. The parents raise funds, the communities raise funds to help them, and now they're in college. We have 47 of them. And they are not just leaders, they are leaders in their community. They are leaders in their college, they are leaders in the state, and they are leaders in the nation. Because they felt welcome, they felt valued. And that's what I believe we need to do. But last and not least, you all are talking about creativity, creatividad. One of the things, as an educator too, the greatest professional development that I've received, it was about multiple intelligences. Our brain has the capacity to learn in different ways. Our schools, many times, focus on mathematical and linguistic, but there's other intelligences. We have the kinesthetic intelligence, the musical intelligence, the naturalist intelligence, the interpersonal intelligence, the intrapersonal intelligence. All these intelligence need to be developed too, because we're whole human beings. And I believe that in our activities, in our programs, we have to work with the whole child and the whole brain. And it is through the right hemisphere of your brain. The left tends to be very sequential, linguistic. The right hemisphere of the brain is the most powerful one, because that's where your emotions, it's holistic, it's kinesthetic, it's creative, and those need to be developed. Children need physical activity. The recent research shows, we talk about ADD kids, hyperactive kids. First thing they need is activity, physical activity, movement. They need to develop their other abilities. So I just leave you with that. We are very fortunate to live in Arlington, to work in Arlington, and to make Arlington our home. And so all of you bring tremendous assets, because it's with children and working with children and youth that we get our energy. And that's what keeps me young. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Now I have the pleasure of introducing the Superintendent of Arlington Public Schools, Dr. Patrick K. Murphy.
Well, good morning. How are folks this morning? Good. I want to just first of all start by saying thank you. Thank you for being here. Your presence here today, has many ramifications, and it really inspires me. The fact that we've got parents, we've got extended day folks, we've got folks from YMCA, from AHC, really just across the county, Parks and Rec. That is most appreciative. Now, I had this wonderful, preparation of notes. Michael has prepped me and everything, but I'm going to leave you with something kind of succinct, positive, and symbolic. And it's something that I continue to see in all the things I read. And you know this too. This is not going to be news to you. But I just want you to know the power that you have. Imagine there's a light switch, and all of us have it. That light switch is high expectations. Flip that light switch in everyone you see, and we will see great things continue to happen. What Dr. Emma Sanchez said about relationships, about expectations, about realizing dreams, you folks have that ability to influence. And I want you to realize how wonderful that is, and it speaks volumes, your presence here today. So have a wonderful Saturday, continue to do great things, and I look forward to seeing you out there as we cross paths. Thank you so much.
I already mentioned him, so now it's time to bring him out. He has one of the cooler titles I think you can actually have, and I don't know that it's on a business card, but it's Asset Liaison. It's a pretty good one, considering that for 15 years he's been helping to build and develop assets here in this community, and of course has been with the partnership. So please, we wouldn't be here today, and this would not be as well organized or run, I'm sure, without him. Everyone, a round of applause for Michael Swisher.
My slideshow set up. Let me grab that microphone. There it is. Good. So good morning. And thank you all for coming. Everyone's already said that. But I want to make sure I acknowledge a couple of people here. We already did acknowledge Abby Raphael. Thank you very much for being here. But I also want to point out a few other people we have from the Partnership of Children and Families. The chair, Bill Browning, please. And I want to make sure I thank again Mr. McBride and Dr. Word for opening up their building to us this morning. And then way back here I see my former boss, Laura Lazor, Division Chief for Sports and Recreation. Did I get all the VIPs? I think so. My boss is out there somewhere too, Kim Duran, who coordinates all the work for the partnership. But let me talk about, I want to make sure, so there's this conference about developmental assets. And a number of you have seen that, heard that term. Raise a hand if you've never heard that or up until this morning. I got 3. Okay, I'll talk to you outside. Let's do that. Actually, I could sort of do that. Everyone see this coming in? Yes. Remember this from last year? We made commitments. Here's kind of what people said. Those were the words. Okay, notice that one really big, this one really big. This is what we're about. These are commitments we made last year. What's going to be your commitment this year? What are you going to do from here? So I was going to go over the developmental assets in case people didn't get them. Scott's talked about it a bit. Really, it's a list of things that young people should have in their lives. The positive things. What I like about assets is it's positive. It's not looking at what the issues are in that child and their family, things like that. It's what we can do to support them. I'll invite you to take a look at that list. I'm not going to go through it. In fact, what I'd like you to do, when you have a time, after this, take 5-10 minutes, go through that list and mark out ones that you're building. When you're looking at your program and your interaction with young people, which ones are you building? Mark them off. Put a star by ones you're especially proud of. Think of stories. You know what I'll ask you to do? My name's on there, my email's on there. Send me a story. Something you did building assets. I'd like to share some of that, okay? So that's developmental assets. This is why they're important. Real quick, I want to point out. So this number here, 31 to 40 assets, kids should have that many. That's the optimal number. And see this graph here? These are Arlington kids. Kids who have that many assets are engaging in 6.3 thriving behaviors. These are positive things they're doing. Leadership, academic success, physical activity, all those sort of good things. These guys down here who have 0 to 10 are only doing 2.6. Not too good. Let me point out one other thing. This one's more stark to me. So people who have 31 to 40 assets, these are risk behaviors. That number, less than 1 risky behavior that kids are engaging in. Less than 1. Look at our young people who have 0 to 10 assets, almost 8. Can I make that any clearer why assets are important? Good, no, okay, good. So that's really, this is what it comes down to for me. This is what it's all about. And this is what we're here for today. You're going to go to many different workshops where people are talking about how we engage young people in the community, how we get them to be involved, which is all about building assets. Now you look at that list and say 40, goodness gracious. Really? No, I want you to memorize them all, okay? So by the end of the day there's a test? Not really. Really think about these 3 things. The environment. What's the environment you're creating in your programs, in your home, in your neighborhood? Is it positive? Is it supportive and encouraging? The other thing, activities we do. When we first started this in Parks and Recreation, we were scratching our heads, how do we build assets? How do we do things like positive family communication? Some of what we can't do that in Parks and Rec. But we do a lot of activities around decision making, those sort of things. Planning, decision, working together, interpersonal competencies. But the most important, and I'm so glad that Dr. Yolan Sanchez said this, it's the relationships. Each of you is with kids, some of you every single day. What are the relationships like? What are you doing? That's where you're building your assets. So what I want to point out and share, and let's see what we got. I'm going to have to skip this video, but I want to talk about a concept called sparks. Okay? You should all understand what this is. It's that thing that lights up a young child. It's that thing when you see it in him or her, you're like, oh, there it is. It's what they enjoy doing, what they get lost doing, what you have to interrupt them from doing. We're not talking about watching TV or playing video games. We're talking about those kids. I used to work at Argus House. That's a residential facility for boys who got in trouble with the law. Okay? I couldn't tell you how many boys I've seen with notebooks. They're writing lyrics. Those boys had a spark. I had a young guy who used to play basketball. That was all he ever did. That was his thing. It was great. His spark, absolutely. We went and did a sculpture thing. He came up with this amazing sculpture with a basket and a ball. Who knew? This guy has another spark in sculpting. So find those sparks. You see the kids every day. You know the ones. You can see someone nodding already. You see them, you think like, oh yeah, I know him, I know her. The ones that you have trouble with, think about those kids right now. What are their spark? And it's not pushing your buttons, that's not what I mean, okay? But find their spark. Think about what it is that they like to do. Kids who know what their spark is, kids who have someone to support them and have an opportunity to do it are less likely to engage in violence, they'll do better in school. We've seen it over and over in Parks and Rec. When kids are successful at something, it bleeds over into other parts of their lives. You can be that person to help support that spark. Identify for them. This is what you do? That's amazing. I'll invite you to do, this is a cool thing. Look up Peter Benson, TED Talks. Everyone know what TED Talks are? Everyone see those? They're really good. There's one by Peter Benson on Sparks. It's 20 minutes. I'm not going to show that this morning. Actually, a short one, but we're really out of time. So I want you to think about this idea of sparks and think about finding ways. Creative activities, sports, leadership, environmental stewardship. Those are different types of sparks kids have. Think about your kids. Think about what those are and get them going. Okay? For the rest of the day, it's all about you and learning. We've got a multitude of presenters here. We're doing great things to teach you all sorts of ways to engage with kids and build assets. Go forth and do that. Thank you so much for being here.
So what we're going to do is we're going to have a discussion, a very frank discussion, with our lovely team panel members. We're all going to come out and I'll make them introduce themselves. So orderly, aren't they? And then we will also, I've got some questions that I'll bring up, but also if you have a question, we're going to try and fit you in as well. Because this is really all about having an open discussion, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what's a good influencer, what probably has a negative effect and you might not even know it. It's kind of a surprising conversation sometimes. So here's what we're going to do. We'll just go down the line and we'll start ladies first. We'll start on the far end and just say who you are, what grade you're in, and why you're here today. And then we'll get to the conversation.
My name is Emma Taylor. I'm a senior and I'm here with the Teen Network Board. I'm going to be doing a presentation on Care for Change.
I'm Kira Hockey. I am also a senior at HB Woodlawn, and I'm doing a presentation with Emma.
Hi, my name is Sophia Leon. I'm a freshman at Wakefield, and I will also be doing a presentation.
Hi, my name is Amelia Hayden. I am a senior at Yorktown, and I will be doing a presentation as well.
Hi, I'm Claire Flint. I'm a senior at Yorktown, and I'm also doing a presentation.
Hi, I'm Michelle Johnson, and I'm a junior at New Directions, and I'm here to do a presentation.
Hi, I'm Miguel Sanchez. I'm a sophomore at New Directions, and I'm here for a presentation.
All right, a little round of applause to get them going here. This is our freshman and senior panel. I will quiz you all later. You'll have to know all of their names and where they go to school, what year they're in. Here's what I'm going to do. Just give me a show of hands. How many of you this morning have already looked at your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of the above? All right. So my first question for you is, I'm just kind of curious, and I want you to jump in, take turns. If you don't, I'm going to make you, I'll call on you. I'll make you feel horribly uncomfortable until you say what we want to hear. I want to know if to what degree do you feel pressured by social media? I mean, you see things out there on Facebook, you see things on Twitter. Do you feel a need to compete? Do you feel a need to join in? What kind of pressure exists just from what you see your friends, your colleagues, and others doing? Who's got an answer for that one? There's a lot of smiles, so I know you agree with me.
I think there's a pressure to like have a presence and just show that like you're having fun too and you're cool too, and I mean you want to make sure that you're doing the same things that everybody else is doing and kind of like meeting the expectation of like having like just showing that you're handling high school well and like having fun and are among friends.
Does it make you do things that you wouldn't normally? Anyone? I know you're all amazing kids who never succumb to peer pressure, so we've chosen a group that's too good. But no, I mean, there have to be things that either bother you. I mean, are there things you see that bother you that you wish people weren't posting?
I guess it's kind of annoying if like one of your friends is hanging out with other of your friends and they just like don't invite you and then they post it. I mean, I'm sure they don't do it intentionally, but I guess it's kind of annoying to see it and then be like, oh, you included me, that's cool. Yeah.
She's probably not the only one who feels that way, right? I would imagine anytime you see some of your friends doing something and you weren't part of the group that day, you kind of wonder why. There's a little bit of that going on, right? In what ways does social media help you? How's it good? She's like, don't give me that thing. I didn't ask for that.
I think it can really just spread awareness for things like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge was pretty good, and it started with one of my friends and then got around to pretty much my whole friend group and like just went everywhere too. So it can just raise awareness for a lot of things that are going on.
That's a good point. Any other ways that you think what you do online helps you, helps your community? I mean, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge is a really great example, right? Because it not only encouraged people to take part and do something where they're giving, but if they weren't giving money, they contributed to awareness. And that's important. It was amazing how viral that went. But not everything's going to be that successful. What else have you done or have you seen that you think is a good thing? Not just, hey, I'm here at the mall today. What else is good? Are there any other benefits to this?
I think social media is a really great way to connect with people. I think you can meet a lot of people through social media, but that also has negative consequences, like having a friendship only over social media and not interacting in real life. But I do think it's a good way to connect with people.
Okay, so raise your hand on the panel if your parent or parents have access to your Facebook page or your Twitter. Now, how many of you are parents and do have access to your child's account? It's important, right? I mean, not all the kids love it, I'm sure, but the point is, you know that it's a great way to keep tabs on things, right? So, as we talk about it, and whether parents have a dialogue with kids, I'm not going to play kids, it makes you sound too young, right? Teens, students, teens, a little more respectful. As your parents have dialogues with you, what's something that adults don't open up to you about enough? What's something that you wish the conversation were a little more geared for you, and it doesn't happen?
With my family, we don't really open up about like economic or financial issues because like I ask for a lot of things and then my mom's like, I don't have money for that right now, and then sometimes she's like, okay, So it's like confusing and I didn't know when to like not ask and when I could ask because it's like confusing at some point.
It's a really good point. I mean, every adult wants to guard or shield their child from some of the tough stuff in life, right? But I'm sure a lot of you probably don't really let your child know where we stand. And therefore, you don't know when it's okay to ask for something and when not. You don't want to be a burden, right? But at the same time, you deserve stuff. That's a tough balance. Does anyone make a point to really have those conversations? To tell their child, you know, here's where we stand in the world of finances. It's a tough thing. Yeah, you do. It's a good thing to have. It's a healthy conversation, so you're all on the same page. Even though you're right, you want to protect them sometimes. So is it a tough balance for you? I mean, you raised your hand. You said, yeah. Is it a tough thing to have those conversations? And why? But you think it benefits to have that conversation? Yeah. Are there other things that you don't talk about with your parents and you wish you did? It's kind of a tough thing to say. It's not something that's off the top of your head, like, I wish my parents and I talked about this. But is there something else that you ever think about?
Sometimes, like, if friends are getting into, like, trouble with things, you know, just, like, doing things that they wouldn't otherwise be doing, I mean, that's maybe something I would want to talk to about with my parents, but there's, like, the fear that they're going to kind of, like, run and tell so-and-so's parents that, you know, they're up to no good. So that's just a conversation that I might have wanted to have, but haven't.
Yeah, that's a really good one, isn't it? It's the idea of wanting to talk to your parent or mentor or older sibling about something, but you don't want to get the other person in trouble, right? So how do you do that? How do you create that environment where it's okay to tell someone something? And as long as your friend isn't out robbing banks, there's, you know, there should be some leeway there to have that conversation without involving other people, right? Do any of you also feel the exact same way she does? Are there ever times where you wish you could talk about something and you're worried it might go the other way?
Yeah, I know that I'm sometimes worried that if I tell my parents something that they'll be like disappointed in me or something, and I just don't want them to like see me and like feel like ashamed or disappointed in something that I've done.
So, as adults out there, you're kind of hearing firsthand what you maybe didn't think you would hear from kids, that they want to have that communication with you. That's a pretty good thing. Because I'm guessing that even though we've got some exceptional students here, every student probably to some degree wants to have that conversation, or at least that freedom to have an open conversation and not feel that there are going to be repercussions, that it's okay to talk about things. What about with teachers? Talk to me about the relationships you have with teachers or people at your school. And do you feel like you get, because we're having an adult conversation here, do you feel like you're treated as an adult? Do you feel like there's a way that you're treated in school that makes you feel valuable and important? Or are there things that are done in school or in after-school programs and the volunteer programs you're part of in which you feel like you could be treated a little more respectfully, a little more adult?
At my school, we have a new math teacher that started with us, and I feel like my relationship with her, like I've always loved my teachers, but there's something about her, she doesn't really know how to handle us, and like everybody takes advantage of her, and she doesn't stand firm on like the rules and stuff. So like a lot of people get over on her, and it's just like frustrating to see. Even though I participated in it too, so it's like I'm a hypocrite, but it's just, it gets old and we don't really learn a lot, so it's frustrating, but thankfully we're getting a new teacher on Wednesday, so.
And sometimes it's just not a good fit, right? That's in all fairness. But you raise, I think what's probably the really important bottom line is, she said we're not learning a lot. I mean, that's pretty sobering, right? You go to school, it actually seems like they want to learn, this is a good group. And if you go into class and the relationship with your teacher isn't one where there's a mutual respect, suddenly it's a wasted hour every day in that class, right? Is it an hour? How long is class?
45 minutes.
Okay, so there's not a lot of time to learn a lot. So it's got to be time really well spent. What else is important about the dynamic, the relationship between people at school, adults at school, and you all?
Sometimes, honestly, with like teachers, there's this one teacher at my school where a student or someone in the classroom will just ask a question and he'll be like, okay, yeah, and then he'll go on to whatever we're talking about. Like he'll completely ignore the question. And it's really annoying because it feels as if what we have to say isn't being valued. It's like we're the ones that are going to benefit from what you're teaching us, and the fact that you're going to ignore the question is just really disrespectful. So why? And then that also will cause like tension and problems between students, which will get the student in trouble because it's like, oh well, no, the teacher's always right because they're superior to you. But it's like, yeah, but it'd be nice if our opinions were valued and like just tried to be taken care of instead of ignored and tossed to the side.
Yeah, let's move on. You mean like that?
Like that.
Okay, like that. Another good point. and I'm sure, I mean, is some of this a little eye-opening to hear it directly from students, from teens? I'm seeing some nodding, some yeses. And raise your hand and feel free to shout if you've got a question or a comment that you think could. Yes, you right there.
Just in your question, I think there's something very important. You asked us about the perspective by teachers and by parents, and then you said, like an adult, which assumes that as young people, they don't have to be respected. I think you should ask the question, you feel respected as a human being, whether you're an adult or a child, you should still have human dignity, you should still be respected.
Sure.
So I think that kind of, as an adult, already makes the problem.
Okay. No, point taken. Or as a peer, as an equal. All right, my apologies. No, it's a good point. Let's talk about if you could change one thing about your school. Don't say the food in the cafeteria. If you could change one thing in your school, what would it be? I'm going to make you all answer quick answers on this. We're going to go down the line. No one can skip out of this one. We're going to start at the end here.
I would change some of my classes as like the teachers aren't that good. Like people just do what they want in class and we don't really learn. And yeah, that's what I would kind of change.
So you want to learn is the point. You just feel like you're not in something.
Yeah.
It's important. Who's up next? What would you change about your school?
I would change the level of competition because I feel like at my school everybody's just like constantly comparing themselves with others and like competing, even though it kind of comes unconsciously, it's just kind of always there. Which I think competition can kind of breed excellence and success, but sometimes it just becomes overwhelming.
As a parent, a mentor, role model, and adult, do you see the pressure for children to compete, whether it's athletics, grades? I mean, is it across the board? Is it always? Are there ways that you cope with that? I mean, who out there thinks they have a pretty good way to approach the subject matter when they realize that someone in the household is struggling to keep up with the competition, keeping up with the Joneses? Does anyone have a great line they use? Does anyone have a theory they use?
Just be yourself. Love you for who you are.
Be yourself, I love you for who you are?
Yeah, and that starts at a young age. You don't wait till they get in middle school and high school. You start that from day one. As long as you have respect for yourself, you can do it. Self-esteem, that's important. That's very important, self-esteem.
That's a simple approach, but it sounds like it works pretty well. Way in the back there?
Just tell them to do the best of their abilities. It's not always about whether they win, as long as they feel fulfilled. You know, it's not about, who's better than. Just as long as you know you've done the best, and like you said, start at a young age, if they know they've done their best, then they shouldn't feel bad.
Yeah, if you're doing your best, that's what matters, right? All the effort. One more? Anyone else with one more? Let's right here.
I think the problem with the culture is that it's a culture that is consensus incentive. So you cannot change that. There's nothing you can do, so it's within the culture problem, not that.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, it's not like you can fix it with one quick paintbrush stroke. I mean, it's a big problem, but those tools certainly help, right? I mean, encouraging them that no matter what, be yourself, the best of your abilities, those all help. What else would you change about your school?
Going along with like the competition thing, just like pressure in general, like sometimes you have a lot of good stuff going on and doing your homework, you just have so much of it and you have to do it all because you're so scared of getting like disapproving looks and just like the bad grades and like all the penalties that come along with like not doing your homework or something. And so I think that just like maybe the teachers like give you like a break for like a homework assignment, like a quarter or something, because just sometimes there's just so much stuff going on.
Is there too much homework?
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of a dumb question by me, right? Of course, we know what the answer is going to be. But what about, raise your hands in the audience if you think that they have too much homework. They get home and it's just instantly like get to the grind of it, and then before you know it, it's time to go to bed, you wake up, you're tired, you're doing it again. Is that why? Or why is there too much homework? One person give me an answer out there. Pardon me? No balance. No balance. Balance between what? Homework and what?
Okay, you guys are good at adults, but you're treating her differently, right? But then you guys rag on us, we're adults, and we give it back. I don't think you have time to grow up.
And if there were less homework?
Maybe a balance between homework and social life. You guys are preparing for adult play, very important.
People agree with that? More of a balance between still social, just every day being at home, having conversations, being with their own age group. So it's a lot of coming home, just hitting the books.
Girls are wanting to be pretty and skinny, and I see the pressure there. But you guys are good in your own fields. You don't have to be beautiful, or you don't have to be in football. You have to do your own, everybody's good in their own abilities. And adults have to bring that out in them. I guess that's what this part the gentleman was talking about earlier. You have to find your own goodness there and develop that. You can't do what someone else.
Yeah, it's really good. It's good advice. And encapsulate it all. Give me another thing you would change about school. Anyone else? School's perfect.
My school is 6 through 12, and so we've been with a lot of these teachers for 7 years now, and it's kind of a unique environment, and they're quite involved in our lives. And I think just one thing that I would adjust a little bit is the level of involvement, because I really appreciate them being able to give me advice and stuff, but at some point it becomes a little excessive, and they sort of know everything about you and about everything going on in your life, and they try to control like your social life, and it's just a little strange when a teacher will come up to you in the hallway and ask about your friend group fighting or something, and it's just like a little, I think we just need a space, like our own space a little bit, I think.
You feel a little lorded over, a little crowded sometimes. What about privacy? Privacy is an important part of being a teenager, right? You want a little bit of your own space, a little bit of your own privacy. Do you feel that you get enough privacy at school, and you feel you get enough at home? So raise your hand if you feel like you get enough privacy at school. There's like one on the end like that. What about at home? Do you feel like you get enough privacy? Just a couple little, that to me is pretty telling though. I mean, it means you want more of your own boundaries, your own space, your own abilities. But at the same time, keep in mind, at the same time, pretty much everyone in this panel seemed to agree that they would like to have more of a dialogue with adults too, or with their parents, with their family. So it's not like they want to close the door and shy away from the rest of the family. They just need some privacy once in a while. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
I think, sorry. It's not that I want to stop the dialogue and that I don't appreciate having conversation with adults about, social issues and stuff, but they're coming from a totally different place than I am, and they're not really seeing my perspective. And so they're just sort of commenting on these issues that I'm having in my life from a totally different perspective, and it's not always helpful at all. And like with my parents, it's helpful. I like having a dialogue with them. We're pretty open with each other, and so it's nice to have that relationship. But also at some point, they think they sort of know everything about the pressures that I'm under and like the pressures that all my friends are under, and so they just sort of are judgmental in a way. And so it's a little tough to have that dialogue when they're coming from a completely different place than you.
Okay, so to follow that up then, and this is kind of a question that a parent may ask a teen, is how do I get my teenager to respond to me when I ask something simple like, how did it go in school today? How was school today? I mean, how many, raise your hands if you ask that question, you instantly get shut down. Right. So, help them out. They want to know. They want when you walk through the door, you get in the car, you get on the bus, whatever it is, they just want to know, how was your day? Was it good? Was it bad? Is there anything we can talk about? How can I help you? Do you just need to vent? How do you make that happen? Because there are a lot of people who raise their hands because they're getting stonewalled when they ask that question. What's the best way to approach you after school?
My mom, she tells me like she got a good email from one of my teachers, which I know she didn't get one, but like I just like feed off of that and be like, I had a good day, I did this, I got a good grade in school, but I'm for me personally, I'm very open with my parents and I pretty much have to be. So it's like it's not a struggle with my family because I tell them everything, like they know everything about me though. So it's like I don't have an issue. So I don't know how to like answer the question.
Okay. No, that's great. That's a good problem to have, that you don't know how to answer that question. Is there someone though that give me some advice then? Anyone else on the panel for an adult out here, parent, teacher?
I'd say timing is kind of the issue, because if I'm in my room with the door closed, like working on this essay, like mid-sentence, my mom comes in and it's like, how was your day? I'm like, not gonna answer. But if I'm, like eating dinner or whatever with her, then like we can have a good conversation. But if I'm like mid-piano practice or mid-homework assignment, then that's kind of not the right time to ask.
How many of you sit down and have dinner around the table with the family every night?
I don't do that actually.
I look at she's like, why don't they just talk to me during dinner? We never have dinner. That's tricky, right? Yeah. We're like, oh, this esteemed panel of tricksters and con artists. What, no, I know. I'm just being horribly unfair to you right now. What, how many in the audience here make sure that they do dinner at least 3 or 4 times a week where you sit down with the family, you have a conversation, the TV's not on? How many do that? I mean, we had to as a kid. That was, and we benefited from it. I mean, I thought it was beneficial. Now it's a lot tougher. We're in a city where not everyone in the household gets to have the same schedule, and there are longer commutes, and there are different shifts for work. It's probably not as easy as it was when I grew up, or where. But is it important? Do you enjoy that time, sitting down at the dinner table with the family?
Yeah, I mean, I like having dinner with my family because I guess I can kind of tell them what I'm going to be doing this week. If I have like a game or if I'm going to go to a friend's house for a project or something, and then they can tell me, oh, well, I have to work, or like, it just keeps the whole family, I guess, connected, and everyone like is in the know of what's going on.
What's one subject that never gets brought up at home that you wish did?
Drug use, and domestic violence.
Drug use and domestic violence, two incredibly important issues, and they need to be brought up. How many of you are waiting to bring it up? You know you're going to, you just haven't yet. How many of you happily have brought it up and had to sit down with your kids about drug use or domestic violence? Do you think you need to, are there any who don't believe you need to address a subject like domestic violence? Do they think you don't need to talk to your kids about that? You do need to talk to them. And tell me why. Who feel like they've had successful talks with their child about drug use? Who feel that the talk has been a good one? Anything you said in particular that you would advise the other parents out here?
Don't do it.
That was succinct and perfect. Don't do it. I like that.
I mean, it all depends on your child. But like I said, it starts.
Oh wait, hang on, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. You're with them, right? Be very, very open. What was it over here? And then we'll go to the next question. I'm sorry.
Oh, you telling me now? Oh, sorry. No, it's just like I said earlier, you kind of start off, because a lot of stuff is happening with younger kids, and when we was growing up, you know, yeah, we didn't talk about it a lot, but I tried to do it with my child, because to let her know that she can rely on me, she can come to me, she can talk to me. We talk like, you know, adults. My daughter's 19 now. I hope, and she's in college, so I'm hoping that it sticks. But so far, so good, you know. So, and then as far as violence, yeah, that starts at an early age too now, you know. So, and I always tell my daughter, excuse me, y'all, but this is real. Anybody put their hands on you, you need to let Big Mama know. Like they're gonna hurt me or your brother or your sisters or whatever. You say, okay, I'm not gonna say a word. As soon as you
Well, here's the thing.
Inside, you come and tell Big Mama we're gonna handle that.
Big Mama, there's so much work that's just been driving me nuts. The guy in the cubicle next to me, I don't like the way he talks to me.
It's all about
So if you could stop by between 10 and noon.
If they can trust you, they'll talk. But I feel about Big Mama.
Big Mom, everyone. All right, let's do a positive thing that might help others reinforce a system that's already in place. No, that was positive. I'm not saying that's negative. You think I'm going to talk back to you after hearing what you said? Renee, I wasn't escorted to my car. What do friends do? Let's talk about friends for a second. What do some of your friends do that really benefits you, that helps you either reach your goals, that just helps you, in your eyes, become a better person, or makes you want to be better? What do your friends do that's good?
With my lacrosse team at Wakefield, it was like when we had to run and stuff, like I'd give up like not even halfway through the mile and stuff, but like I had my friends like pushing at me and like grabbing me and like telling me, come on, not going to be able to make the team. So when I made the team, I like thanked them, and they're like a huge benefit, like socially and mentally with me, and physically. So I really appreciate my friends that stay with me.
Yeah, that's great. What other way do friends help you? And not just, I mean, let's talk big picture. How do friends make a big difference in your life? Because friends can obviously also be detrimental at times. Friends can be a negative impact. They can take away from the good, right? So what do friends do that's good that people in the audience might be happy to hear? Look at how she just volunteered Miguel.
Like they can help you out like in bad situations, like when you're having trouble with something or someone, yeah, they can help you. That's all I have to say.
No, that's good. That's good. He's a man of few words, but they're good words. So as I wrap this up, here's my question for you then. Do you think that that there's enough time for friends outside of school? Because we had the homework question and the socializing discussion we had here. So is there enough time for friends? Do you get friend time?
I'm here from Arlington. So HB is like the program or whatever, and you have your homeschool. So I play sports at my homeschool. And so I see my friends at HB during the day, but all the kids that I went to elementary school with and that I've been really close with go to Washington Lee. And so it's really, really tough for me to stay in contact with them when we're not doing sports season because I never ever see them. And it's hard not to be able to do that. So I would say, yeah, it's hard.
It's hard. There's a lot on their plates, isn't it? I mean, on yours too, obviously. The good news is you're all here. And as someone who covers Capitol Hill for a living and all I see is dysfunction, it's really nice to see function. I mean, everyone's here for the same reason, right? We all want Arlington, Virginia, the country, the world, but mostly our neighborhood just to be better, our household, our schools. So you should all be commended. It's a great thing to see this many faces in one room. And our panel too. So a little round of applause for our amazing team. Thanks very much to you all. Thank you all for letting me be part of your morning. I take great pride in the ability to help maybe just a tiny bit of the conversation. So thanks for having me this morning. I look forward to doing more with you in the future. Thank you, Big Mama. I'll write down my list of Big Mama quotes, and we're going to publish that and send that out to all of you. Thank you very much. Have a great morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.